Hello everyone, welcome back to the Environmental Podcast. We are Aaron and Alicia, and this is a show where we pick a different environmental or social topic each week that we find interesting, and we both get on this soapbox and we upload our opinions on the topic. And today we're talking about the internet. You love it, you hate it, you're probably addicted to it. Alicia, where do you stand?
Well, as a student, podcaster, and 20-year-old, there's no way to escape the internet. And so I don't know from any of those three options, probably leaning close to hating it because there's a lot of bad things about it. But yeah, I use it literally every day for mainly schoolwork because everything's on there. Your notes, your assignments are submitted through there, so that's the biggest
The way you learn.
way I use it, the way you learn, because it's rare that I'm gonna go and read the textbook. I'd rather go and watch a video on it, just because that's the best way that I absorb things, is through listening and absorbing videos, I guess. But anyway, so that's probably the biggest way I consume the internet, is through submitting things and the transfer of documents, but also through communication, so emails. I get a lot of emails because I'm in a few societies and things that require me to communicate with large groups of people who are all over the place. So that's those are kind of the two ways I mainly use it. But then of course, I'm a big fan of watching YouTube videos, and I'll of course be on Instagram for the podcast, taking pictures, posting them, editing them, all that jazz. So that's kind of where I'm at right now with the internet. Growing up, I feel like everybody who's kind of in their early 20s were probably the very last end of it, people that didn't grow up on computers. Because I remember we had a computer, probably most of my life. It was down in the basement in a dark corner. And
Computer room?
A computer room.
That's funny, I think that's a bygone species.
Yeah, I think so.
The computer room has gone extinct.
They've
probably.
gone extinct.
Because now we have the computer pocket. And everyone's
You're right. So I remember I didn't like going down there because you had to go downstairs, fire up the computer, and I was probably 12 when I first watched a YouTube video. And then when I was 14, the first viral video happened, and I was so confused because I was in dance class and they were like, look at this video, and I was like, oh, this is so funny. But then I went to school the next day and everybody else was talking about it. I was like, you weren't in my class last night, how did you hear about it? And so that was kind of when the internet became a big thing.
That's crazy how fast that has changed.
Yeah, now it's just a thing.
The concept of viral and all that stuff.
Yeah, you don't say oh, did you see that? You just assume somebody has seen the video.
Yeah.
Or seen the story.
No one even says that anymore. No one's like, oh man, this video's gonna go viral.
Yeah, because it's everything that you
funny.
see is probably viral. I don't know where I'm going with this. Where do you stand, Aaron?
In a kind of similar place to you, because I'm the same age and I'm also a student, but I don't study as much, and I probably don't have as many assignments as you. But I still use the internet to learn and to work and to submit assignments.
Yes.
Not so much a communication tool because I don't like people and I'm not in so many groups as you.
Yes.
But it's a big procrastination tool, which I've recently started
detoxifying or something.
Yeah, detoxifying, that's a good word. I've recently started my internet rehab because I realized, I think, that my name is Aaron and I'm addicted to YouTube. Possibly.
I think so.
I think at some point, maybe over the last year or so, it just became that was my comfortable place, is watching videos online.
Yeah.
And it wasn't anything that I would say is incredibly brainless content. It was usually some vaguely educational, usually about movies or video games or something like that, or books. But I started to just question my position as a consumer of so much content. Is I think the catch-all word, which is used for stuff like that on the internet now. Mm-hmm. Got a laptop when I was probably 12 or something. I wouldn't say it played an incredibly crucial role in my development as a human. As you were saying, that's a unique, now unique position that we might be in with everyone younger than us. But I would say that at key times in my teens, it was an escape for me because I'm kind of a shy individual and kind of introverted. And I would say that the internet and just technology in general probably allowed me to lean into that more. Whereas I'm sure if I existed in like the 1600s, that wouldn't have been there, so I might have been forced to socialize. I guess I could have disappeared to a library and like read books and stuff.
Yeah. But even then, pretty much everything about the internet is a bit more personal.
A bit more social, interpersonal.
A bit more social, yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's a big part of it. And with social media, neither of us are big
No, I really
fans.
don't.
You don't have any accounts or anything, never have, never will, besides this one.
I think there's a lot of like snobbery from social media by like people like me.
Yeah.
And so like, oh no, I don't like Instagram or Facebook or something like that. But then maybe they're on YouTube or on Reddit or on whatever it may be, which is just as bad, guys.
Yeah.
Or it's in the same vein, should I say.
It is.
It's not a completely different animal.
No. Because you can kind of justify whatever you're doing. Like, I justify going on Instagram because I'm like, oh, I only follow accounts that inspire me. But it's still looking at stuff that it's like, yeah, it's weak.
Anyway, so we want to talk about young people on the internet.
We did,
as well as older people on the internet and just the different generational
all the
divides.
People on the internet, yeah.
Everyone.
Yes. So that's why we kind of mentioned like how we're in that in-between, because we can see both sides of it.
Yeah.
We kind of have a bit of both sides of it in us.
Well, I think it's like, I would phrase it as we were raised kind of with it, not with smartphones, but with the internet. We were raised with it.
Yeah.
But we're probably the last vestige of like our age is probably the last group of people who, from what I've seen, have a self-awareness where we say, I'm on the internet too much. I don't see younger people having that awareness at all.
No, every time, even just like people that are a couple years younger than me, if I'm talking to them about it.
And a lot of people our age.
Yeah.
And people older.
Yeah. Really anybody. If you're talking to them about social media, they're like, oh yeah, I need to get off there. But
That's
they have
really
no intentions of doing it or no plans of alternatives.
Yeah,
because you need an alternative.
It's just this thing in society which has like invaded our minds and our and our relationships, where it's like, if you talk to pretty much anyone on the street who's an active Instagrammer or Facebook or whatever, and you ask them, do you think this is good for you? They'll probably say no.
Yeah.
They'll probably be like, no, it's terrible for us.
Yeah.
But I mean, that's like the definition of addiction.
Yeah.
You know it's bad for you, but you
similar to like eating sugar.
Yeah.
Because it's like, oh, obviously it's bad for me, but like, I'm still going to eat that
Twinkies,
cookie.
Though.
Twinkies. Oh my. They made Twinkies cereal, by the way. Just so you know, they're cream filled. Anyway, don't eat those.
So we're talking about young people on the internet.
Yeah, young people on the internet.
And I have kind of a visceral reaction to that, and I think a lot of people do when we see kids on smartphones and things like that. I think we have a visceral, this doesn't seem right reaction. And
but
I was
why?
thinking, well, the two reasons I came up with is that I think from our kind of wanting to grow as a species and wanting people to be healthy, we say this seems like it's bad for development because kids are so impressionable and like every facet of their lives can influence them in some way.
Yeah.
And if they're exposed so much to whatever it may be on the internet, even if it's supposedly wholesome educational things, there's something about disappearing into these screens, which I have a strong reaction to, a negative reaction to. So that's one thing, is just being different for their development, because we've never raised
we don't know what it's doing to them.
We've never raised humans in an environment like that.
No.
And secondly, I just think from a more romanticized perspective, all through history and every different culture and today, there's a big romance about youth and how it's like the most precious thing. And I think a lot of people, maybe subconsciously, we say, oh, maybe kids are wasting their youth a little bit now on the internet.
Yeah, like we don't know. Like when these people turn 25, they're going to look back and be like, I didn't have that. And then they're going to kind of be either like try and...
Possibly. Or the worst thing, they won't have that awareness.
Yes, that as well. But they could like reach that age and then be like, oh shoot, then they're just like choose to stay in a
I never
youth,
made
like,
a tree house.
Yeah.
Or something like that.
So like, I'm not sure what it's going to do.
Anyway.
But then like older people as well who didn't grow up with the internet, they maybe like had email, but like they didn't grow up with the internet. They probably, I feel like there's two camps. There's the people that are like, get off your screens, get off the Facebook. And some people who are just like, oh yeah, this is easy. And kind of like just really embrace it and accept it into their lives and they see their children using it.
And more glued to it than young people even.
Yeah, I've seen that as well.
Well, I think the funny thing is that like we always, when we were, let's say mid-2000s, our elder generations were like giving us warnings about the internet.
Yes.
Like the dangers of it and stuff. but I even think that they, having not been raised in it, are less equipped to deal with this, with the nature of the internet, be it its dangers, its inherently kind of untruthful nature, because we always have that meme about like old people believing everything they see on the internet, or addicted to it, or whatever it may be.
Mm-hmm. Yes, for sure. And social media is another, like, that's something else. It's like there's the internet, but then like there's social media, which is what people are usually talking about.
What are we talking about when we talk about the internet? Let's list all the different areas of the internet that we know of.
Yes, so we have the educational areas, we have the Wikipedias.
The Wikipedias of this world.
We have the Wikipedias. We have the forums, the Reddits. YouTube's kind of this mishmash.
YouTube is kind of this mishmash of like music videos or funny videos, and movie trailers is probably the big thing on YouTube. And then you go to the comments.
Ooh, the comments are just...
the comments. Maybe we'll talk about that later.
Yeah, that's probably a whole different...
But what else? We got Wikipedia, YouTube, Reddit.
Netflix.
Oh, yeah, Netflix.
Like streaming
Netflix,
services.
Spotify.
Yeah.
iTunes podcasts.
At the Environmental Podcast. What else? Then there's social media.
Then you got your Instagrams of this world.
Then you have...
your Twitters, your Facebooks.
Skype. You have Skype and like DMs and stuff.
Okay.
So that's like, there's a lot of different parts of it.
Yes.
But focusing it on social media, because that's...
Well, it's something like 10 websites get like 60-70% of traffic or something crazy like that.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because I rarely am going to go, if I want to look something up, I'm just going to go to YouTube.
So for people listening to this
Pinterest.
And thinking that we're really generalizing the internet, we're really not. It pretty much is just those websites.
Yeah, it is. So what are your thoughts?
What do we want to talk about social media? Let's instead of grouping it maybe as one social media, let's pick apart each one. So let's start with
Facebook. We watched The Social Network the other day.
Yeah, we did. It was really good.
It was really good. But then...
For those who haven't seen The Social Network, it's the story of this kind of alienated young man, Mark Zuckerberg, who creates a small website called Facebook and is being sued because he potentially stole the idea and also may or may not have screwed his co-founder out of the company.
He did.
In the movie he did.
In the movie he did. I didn't look into the real life.
We're making those statements about the real Mark Zuckerberg.
No, don't come for us, Mark.
Yeah, don't come for us, Mark. But I like the movie because at the end of it, it basically, the final shot is of him refreshing his Facebook page all alone. I think it's pretty well done. Yeah,
because he did it to like impress a girl.
Yeah.
That's why he created Facebook. Yeah, but then he ended up just refreshing her Facebook page.
In the movie.
We don't know in real life. But like, anyway.
So what do we want to say about Facebook?
It's the easiest way to feel like you're part of a community while being completely alone.
Because you have friends.
Because you have friends. They're literally called friends.
Yeah, that's funny because people, spoilers, this whole episode is going to be us listing the things we don't like about the internet. But there's a lot of people who say, well, it's pretty good though because I can connect with my old classmates. I can see what my friends are doing and this kind of thing. But you're not connecting with your old classmates or what your friends are doing or your family, even your family. It's just their online avatars. It's not really them. It may be pictures of them and a collection of their posts, but it's not really them. Yeah, exactly. I think if you really wanted to, like, I've had somebody that I work with is an older gentleman, and he took this picture on his flip phone, and he was, like, talking to me, and he was like, how do I send this to my brother? Like, I really want him to see this picture. And, like, most people would just, like, post it on Facebook, but he just wanted to, like, get it off his phone, send an email, because he wanted that personal, like, direct communication. I think that's kind of a good thing, that you can, like, communicate with somebody that doesn't live here. Sure. But posting it on your page is just, like, impersonal. Like, you're not even saying, like, hey, brother, I want you to see this. It's just, like, you're posting. Yes. And you're not seeing who's seeing it. It's not really personal. And that gets into building a persona of oneself, an online persona. Yes, that's a very big thing that people do. Which is a good little transition into Instagram. Yes, Instagram. Oh my, that grid. Because you know more about Instagram than I am. I do. On it, so. Because when you go on Instagram and you look at somebody's page, there's like a grid of their photos. Everybody's probably seen it. But it's like, you want those photos to look great together. You want them to build somebody to look at those like 9 photos and know who you are. That's what you want people to think as soon as they see it. Mm-hmm. You're not just posting pictures you like. I like that you started with that because it's basically talking about, how can I say this? Like the detachment of one from oneself.
Yeah.
So you're viewing yourself as a product rather than as myself.
Yeah, everybody's an influencer nowadays.
So you're not saying, I'm not to pick on your Instagram page, but it wouldn't be you saying, I'm Alicia, I post what I like. You say, I'm Alicia, I'm going to post who Alicia is. I'm going to draw up this image of her, this idea of her.
That is what Instagram is. The people that got big on Instagram were the people that made themselves a brand.
Exactly, that's not a good thing though.
No, it's not.
So Instagram kind of props up the idea of celebrity.
Yes.
We watched a movie yesterday which was set in the 1800s, and I had this thought that was, imagine a world without celebrity. That seems inconceivable to me and to us, but it's only in the last 100 years or so which a worldwide big scale celebrity has really kicked on. So I think that's interesting, and since then we've built these mechanisms basically for people to get famous.
Yeah.
What about Twitter?
I don't know. I had Twitter when I was 14. I remember posting things that I thought were funny, just little jokes that I saw and thought about. That was really all I used it for.
Twitter is the one that I see some merit in.
Okay.
Because
I literally haven't been on the website since then. So I don't know what it's about
I'm sure
now.
It's toxic. I'm sure it's hideous, like they all are. But just in its concept, I think it's kind of a classical idea. It's basically like in the Greek days we had maybe, I don't know, Aristotle or someone publishing his thoughts.
Yeah.
And people buying them. That's basically what Twitter is. You get the great
sense.
thinkers of this time, Kanye, tweeting out their thoughts and people reading them. So I mean, does it kind of prop up that concept of celebrity, which I was just
I think it's the biggest one.
Probably. But I don't know. People wanting to share their thoughts has always been a thing, and Twitter's the purest website for that.
Yeah,
or its concept is. I'm sure it's terrible. There's a lot of robot accounts on Twitter and
something like that.
All that stuff.
But yeah, overall, what are we saying with social media? That they
create... Oh, no, there's still more we can talk about.
There is.
Pinterest.
Pinterest isn't a personal thing, though. It's sharing.
It's still social media. So you're doing that thing that people do. Say, no, the website I like, that's not social media. That's actually... So why don't you describe... Because I don't know what Pinterest is. Why don't you describe what that is?
I don't know. Pinterest is... You look at recipes. You look at... Outfits. Homes. I use it to kind of create, but I don't follow anybody that I know or care about on Pinterest.
So you don't think it's social media?
It definitely can be, and a lot of people probably use it like that.
I had this is on a different note, but I had this thought the other day. Is YouTube social media if you don't read or engage in the comments or the likes?
I don't know.
Or is it just like a cable channel on TV?
I think it's different because anybody that makes a video on YouTube, you feel like, oh, they're a real person, and that like influences you into thinking you have a relationship with them in a way.
I don't know. I
don't know either, but I think it's probably the same with TV. It's when you sit there and you like watch Friends or Glee, like you feel like you're going to McKinley High, like you're going to.
We feel like we're really part of the Friends.
Yeah.
It's like Joey, Chandler, Phoebe, Monica, Rachel, Alicia.
Yeah.
And you edit yourself into that little opening title sequence, and you're splashing around in the fountain with them, and you're having a lot of fun in Central Park with them.
Exactly. And I think that's very similar with YouTube.
I agree. Yeah,
so it kind of is like cable, but cable's also not something that's great.
Convenience is the next thing we wanted to talk about, because for those who listened to episode 2, Changing Culture Through Art, we realized that we talked about the movies of Studio Ghibli, we talked about some music we liked, we talked about a lot of Impressionist painting, we talked about a film called Call Me By Your Name, and we realized that the one word which we didn't mention, but was really at the core of all these things we really like, is the idea of convenience. We have convenience stores today, we have smartphones, internet, laptop, and all these things are basically designed to give us things that we maybe already had in some capacity, but in a more convenient way. And that's what technology is. It's about making things more convenient for us. Yeah. And we don't like this. And why don't we like this?
Because it doesn't engage all the parts of your brain. You're engaging very few parts of it because you don't have to think. Like if you're trying to think of a song, you can just like Google it. Or you can...
I would even say like playing the songs and owning the songs. Because objectively, I was always like, man, I can't imagine living in a time where we didn't have streaming services, because now I can listen to way more music than I could before. I can find way more music, like find new artists, and I don't just have to listen to what's on the radio.
Yeah, you don't like buy a CD and gamble hating it.
Exactly. Like you can do whatever you want as long as you pay the monthly subscription or something. But now I'm starting to think, like, is that bad for me? Is it
Yeah.
bad for me that I have access to these millions of songs or whatever's on Apple Music or Spotify?
Yeah, I've been thinking very similar things because it allows you, I feel like you don't have to make choices anymore.
And even the physical act of playing music on a record or even a CD player or something,
Yeah.
that's lost and that's gone. And it's
Yeah.
just, it's all tap. And, you know, maybe this will be another episode, but touchscreens, not a fan of touchscreens.
No.
Because there's no haptic, you're engaging with like a virtual world. And
Yeah, because you can do like 10 different things, but all with just the exact same motion.
Yeah, well, you're doing all these things. It's like you're not really doing them. It's just the phone's doing them for you. And I think
Yeah.
we're losing a lot of competence.
Yeah,
just on a
that
basic
makes
level.
sense. Because even just like having a calculator at the tip of your
Having a
fingers
calculator.
all the time.
Yeah.
Like you never do mental math.
It's something like, well, even having a calculator versus a physical calculator.
Yeah.
There's something in that. I don't know what
There
it
is.
is. It's something about having an app which is touchscreen and having a physical calculator, and something's lost. And since this is the environmental podcast, we should probably not be endorsing physical calculators, physical books. We should probably be all about the apps and the ebooks and things like that. But we don't like those things.
No, because I think it disconnects people from reality
Yes.
and allows them to just, be careless with reality and live in this box.
Yes. Well, the other day, I went out and bought a dictionary.
You did.
At
At a used bookstore.
Yeah, I went out and bought a dictionary. I don't know why, I just had the thought that morning. I said, because I have obviously 1,000 dictionaries online at my fingertips, dictionary.com, and all of them will be bigger than any one physical dictionary I can buy.
Yeah.
And will teach me more words, but it's the matter of convenience again. Like
Mm-hmm.
that
And
just
the
seems
focus.
too easy, too convenient for me, and I feel like I'm not learning much when I do that.
Mm-hmm.
It's very strange.
You don't absorb
can't
much
really explain it
when you
really
do
well.
or look something up.
Yeah.
Because like you could look up dictionary.com synonyms for this, but you wouldn't remember it. But if you like opened up a book,
Yeah,
and
well, that's
read
true.
the word,
Yeah, that's proven learning-wise, right?
Yeah.
Like writing is better than typing. Reading
Yeah.
physical books is better than swiping a digital page.
yeah.
Or scrolling a digital page.
Like I just think
maybe.
you learn more and develop more parts of your mind.
Yeah.
Yes, and that's like a proven thing. I'm not just saying like you use more parts of your brain. Like it's definitely
Yes.
a real thing.
This leads into the next thing, which is about the education side of the internet.
Yeah.
Wikipedias,
Yes, this is something I have a lot of ideas
multimedias, dictionary.coms. What were
Yes.
your ideas you had about this?
So, I was always wondering, personally, the way I learn is by like being isolated. If I go to a lecture, like it depends on the lecture, but if I'm going to a math lecture, I'm not going to learn anything. I'd much rather just read the slides, read the book. But
the online slides, that is.
yes, the online slides. But if I was to not be in a degree, like not be enrolled in a school
Mhm.
and just doing these things on my own,
Yes.
I think we're at the point where society needs to like, if somebody's smart and like knows all these things, they learned them on their own, they don't need the degree to give them credit. I feel like you should be able to, because we have so much, this is a lot of things. We have access to like all of the information that you need to acquire to go into a certain profession.
Yes, we have easier access to information than ever before.
Yes.
This is not.
And
this
if
is
you
fact.
have the discipline to go on the internet and use it just for educating yourself on one thing, like I want to learn how to code, I'm going to go on the internet and do
Mhm.
that, then you shouldn't need a degree to become a computer engineer or whatever.
Well, I don't know. It's just the degree is only there to authenticate that you, in fact, do know how to code.
But you should be able to do a test or just like show them. And I'm
On
sure
an
maybe
interview,
you can.
Of course.
But I'm just saying that was just kind of one thing. It's like
yeah.
the internet has so much potential for like education, but we are not disciplined enough to.
A lot of us are not.
A lot of us aren't. Yeah.
Shawn Mendes taught himself how to play guitar online.
Wow.
And look at him now. But even like podcasting, we didn't go out and buy a textbook. We looked online. How are we going to start this up? What do
Exactly.
we need?
But
No,
yeah.
we were saying that just before today, that in theory, this is the best time in history for someone just to be homeschooled from birth.
Yeah.
And they should be able to learn, in my opinion, much faster than people learning through definitely the education system I went through. And
Yes, me as well.
But what do we lose by homeschooling and just basically downloading information from the internet? I don't know. It seems
Well, we lose the
strange
social
to me. Well, yeah, there's the
parts.
social aspect.
Because like.
There's I think I call it the tactile aspect of
Mhm.
writing and reading physical books.
Mm-hmm.
There's something in that.
Asking questions verbally.
Yes.
Because, like, if you're not afraid to type a stupid question to Google, but you're terrified, well, I am, to ask a stupid question out loud to anybody, because it's like...
Well, that's something, that's you touched on something which is like the anonymity which the internet, or the illusion of anonymity, I will say, that the internet provides, which is why people, I think, their intelligence goes down online, because they just feel free to say dumb things which they kind of know are dumb. Their meanness goes up because the words are not tied to them immediately, and they can say something mean to a celebrity without the fear of like being punched in any way, because they can just say it typed in their basement or whatever.
So that's just, I don't know, what was the topic?
Education. And the other, probably the easiest example of this, which you see a lot of older people complaining about, is how kids these days, a lot of like the handwriting has gone down significantly, their ability to handwriting, because they're typing from a young age.
I can't spell.
And that's completely true.
Yeah, it is.
And then the thing, what annoys me is that you see a lot of young people our age like defending it, like, oh, come on, man, they're just change with the times, and typing, they can do all these things though. It's like, no, young people, I think the education really is failing them now. I think the handwriting really is getting much worse. Because their spelling really is getting much worse.
Education system hasn't adapted to correctly integrate technology into the system.
We always laugh about that, how like in classrooms, there's like all these huge advancements in internet, the huge democratization of information and skill sets and just expertise being passed down, and it's all free, or almost all of it's free.
Yeah.
And yet pretty much the biggest way the classroom's changed is, instead of a whiteboard, what if we had a smartboard? It's like a digital whiteboard.
It doesn't work very well.
It's just funny. It has to be recalibrated every single day. We touch the corners.
Yeah. But like, why, like, there's people who could make the education system better. It needs to change. It literally hasn't changed since it's, what's the word?
Only gotten worse. Inception.
Yeah, inception. Like, it's the exact same. Like, people were in desks. It was 8 a.m. to 3 p.m.
Yeah.
Like, why are we in class for...
Well, there are places that have changed it. Scandinavia.
Yes.
You always see Scandinavia's education results are just way above the rest of the world.
Yeah, it's because they
have all sorts of different...
They do.
All it takes is like... And people would laud that and be like, wow, that's amazing. But all it takes is like a tiny amount of creativity or free thought, or like even just the will to change the system, instead of just griping about how dumb kids these days are because of the system.
Yeah. Like, why are the subjects still, like, there's 6 subjects or whatever? Like, you need a technology class to teach kids how to properly engage with the internet.
Yeah, we're going to have a whole podcast soon about our ideas for reshaping the education system and the curriculum.
Yes, because there's a lot of ideas there.
Also, something just came to my mind, which is that people may be listening to this podcast and saying, who are these guys to be telling us their ideas about what's wrong with the world and how to fix it? Well, I would say everyone should be able to profess their ideas and what they find wrong about the world in kind of a democratic society.
Yeah, I think so. And have the ability to...
Just put your ideas out there. If you're going to be mocked, you're going to be mocked. If people think it's silly, they'll think it's silly.
Yeah.
That gets into... I want to talk about democratizing information. So we were talking about how information's basically been filtered down. It's all free, and now there's so much of it. And the bad effects of that, we see that at the same time... no one knows what's true anymore. No one knows what's real anymore, because there are so many different sources of information. Whereas before, in a classroom or in an educational sense, you would be told one thing. Let's say we're talking about like the distance between, or let's say we're talking about like the diameter of the Earth.
Yes.
We're told one thing and we're given one figure for it, one number for it in grade 6 or whatever. And that's what we know is true, and that's what we believe.
Yes.
But now it's like you go online and you see, oh no, but this one rounds it a little bit, and this one's a little bit different, the number, the diameter of the Earth, and this place tells me the Earth actually is flat, doesn't have a diameter like that. So what do we want to talk about? Conspiracies, echo chambers, and the rise of what I would call anti-intellectualism and contrarianism. Yes,
that is mainly caused from the access to the internet, because as I was saying earlier, you don't have to make decisions anymore. But at the same time, you need to be able to, if you're given these 6 different sources, you need to be able to identify the bias, be able to check it from like know that something is actually verified, see how it happened,
The problem
choose
is
what to believe.
there's so much stuff on the internet and there's so many people that if you wanted to find something, I can find it. If I want to find a website right now and someone's preaching that
The Earth's a triangle.
that the Earth's a triangle, I can
You
find
can
it.
find it. So
And the worst thing than that is that they might have uploaded that as a joke or as a meme
Yeah.
or as an irony thing.
but if in your
But
head,
I don't know that,
you're-
and
yeah.
maybe not me, but some 14-year-old just discovering the internet himself doesn't know that, and especially if he or she has a thirst for information and maybe a kind of nefarious sense of
Rebellion.
rebelliousness. Yes.
Yes, because can you imagine if, like, when you were going through your rebellious phase, you were like, I want to completely disown everything my family believes. You could literally
Exactly.
go online
Exactly.
and, like, find these
And
whole
it's-
other
and find
systems.
and you can just engage in communities, and you can
Yeah.
just become
and have
part
people,
of that.
like, people supporting your
Yeah.
thoughts. Like,
Yeah.
you can talk to somebody and be like, hey, like, yeah, the Earth
So
is
easy
a
to
triangle.
see how people get radicalized,
Yeah.
politically, ethically, intellectually. I think
Mhm.
intellectual radicalization should be a term.
Well, we're making it one now.
We're making it one.
Do.
And I think it's fueled by, this is a trait which people often assign to teenagers, and I think it's completely true, which is that they think they know best.
Oh, 100%.
Well, let's say we think we know best.
Yeah.
Everyone thinks they know best. And so what we want to prove to people is that, no, I'm not
I'm not
aligned
alone.
with your facts, with your
Yes.
with what you've told me in class. I actually know this different thing, which I heard online. And that kind of contrarianism is really dangerous, and especially when there's so much information at hand.
For sure. And that just contributes to a whole slew of
A whole
issues.
slew of issues, especially political issues, which we're seeing now, and we'll talk about another time.
Of
Because we don't
course.
want to derail this too much.
No, not too much. So, what do you think about memes, Aaron? I think you mentioned them in our first podcast when we were talking about the
Wait, what do I
climate
think about
strikes.
what?
Memes.
Memes. Memes.
What do you think? Do you think they're a good thing? Do you think they're a bad thing?
Memes are difficult because they're so pervasive. Probably the most difficult thing about them is that I find a lot of them hilarious.
That is
Like, I
challenging.
find them really funny.
Yes.
But at the same time,
They can be used for evil.
they can be,
I think.
well, not even that, but I think inherently they have this kind of cynicism
Mhm.
and this irony, which is kind of bad.
Yeah.
There's not
like,
a lot of really, I mean, I know there's a whole genre called wholesome memes, but that's kind of, let's talk about wholesome memes.
wholesome memes.
Why don't you describe what they are for us?
Trying to think of an example. Probably the best example would be those ones with the little aliens. And they're just doing their things, but they're just funny. So
It's
like
basically
little
memes where the
pictures
humor is,
that people are being really kind and
of
pure
kindness and purity and all that
naive.
stuff. So why has that genre popped up? What's it popped up in response to? The unwholesome nature of every other meme, pretty much.
Yeah, pretty much. And yeah, the fact that there's a wholesome meme section means that every other meme is usually making fun of a person, of a type of
Yes,
person.
yes.
Starter packs.
Yeah, let's talk about starter packs. There's a subreddit on the website, Reddit, which is called Starter Packs. And basically, I mean, they were always my favorite kind of memes because I found them hilarious. And they would kind of take a person or a type of person. It would kind of categorize people, sometimes by their class or by their gender or by their ethnicity or by their
what
profession.
sport they play.
Yeah, by their hobbies or whatever.
Yeah. Then it
and
would
it
create
would-
like, this is the shirt they wear, this is the
and
shoes they wear.
Yeah, and
this
it would kind of joke about recurring traits that these kind of people have.
Yes,
And I used to find that hilarious until I said to myself, like, what is this? All this does is separate me from other people, and all it does is kind of looking at other people as if they're like exhibits.
Yeah, and they're not actual people.
Yeah, it's very cruel.
Yeah.
And I know people could say we're taking it too seriously, and it's just a joke or something, but I would urge people to look at what makes you laugh, look at what you find funny, and analyze why you find it funny and if that's actually a good thing.
Yeah, if it's degrading somebody else,
Yeah.
a place, and if it's degrading anything, you really shouldn't.
No.
And, like, even if you find it funny, just stop engaging with it because it's doing something bad to you
Yeah.
and your
And
relationship with the world and other people.
if you kind of swear off those kind of memes,
Mm-hmm.
pretty soon you won't find it funny. Like, you can easily
Yeah.
change what your sense of humor.
Mm-hmm.
If you think, wait, I don't like that I'm laughing at this. Yeah, you can change.
Yeah, for sure.
What else do we want to talk about? The internet sense of humor, its dangers, irony, cynicism.
Yeah, just even like oh my, that's one bad thing. Like the I'm trash joke. Which
What's that?
It's just like, it'll be like a picture of like a clean bedroom with like a trash can, or a clean bedroom with like just one like you in it. And it's like, oh, I thought I cleaned my room, but there's still trash in it. Like, I've heard people make that joke a lot, and like similar things. It's like,
well, I think it's
self-deprecation is just not a good thing.
Well, I don't know. That's a historical form of humor.
I know, but it's just like,
what I would say is
hurts
that
my heart.
the thing I see different now is that I don't think many other generations before us, there was a widespread joke, like a social meme where the punchline was always, I'm suicidal, or something like that. Like,
yes.
Everyone always just jokes about how depressed they are, how suicidal they are, and all this stuff. And on the one hand, it's very worrying because, that is worrying.
Of course.
If people are, I think people are usually exaggerating it for the joke.
Yeah, but like you don't know if they are.
You don't know if they are, so it's worrying that a lot of people might be depressed and suicidal. I mean, we know they are. We'll have a mental health episode. And the other worry is that for the people who aren't depressed and suicidal, why are you joking about that?
Yeah.
Like, I think it might be a little bit of peer pressure where it's just, it used to be, oh, that person's wearing that t-shirt, I want a t-shirt like that. And now it's like, oh, that person has that mental illness, I want a mental illness like that. So there's definitely an element of that.
And we know that's not always the case.
But that kind of dark humor is
it's not good.
It's kind of worrying, and it's so normalized.
It's so widespread, yeah. Because like it's not even just on the internet. Like internet memes and sense of humor have completely leaked into people's actual sense of humor. Even just using bad grammar, has leaked in because you'll like use abbreviations or I don't know.
Yeah. Speaking of subreddits like starter packs, there's another one which is I referenced the other day talking to Alicia, which is called Phones Are Bad. And basically the subreddit is because I don't think there are a lot of old people on Reddit. I think it's mostly people mid-20s maybe.
I think it's more younger people, yeah.
It's essentially where they collect memes that old people have made which make fun of young people using phones. So it'll be a meme that an older person drew, and that for some reason they're usually hand-drawn. I don't know, maybe...
I don't know. I've never seen this website.
I don't know about elder memes. But yeah, they're usually hand-drawn of like, let's say it'll be an adult giving a child a book.
Yes.
And the child says, cool, what apps does it have? So memes like that.
Yeah.
And the subreddit is making fun of those memes because
it's a bit meta for me.
It's kind of meta. Basically, people are saying the problem isn't as bad as the older generation makes out. Kids still do read. The internet and social media and technology isn't having a bad effect on them. But I unironically agree with pretty much all those memes. And I think kids are falling away from books, and they are addicted too much to technology, internet and phones and smartphones and apps and things. Yeah,
I think so. It's not much of a debate around that. I think it just is how I've seen pretty much everybody of almost every age is just too reliant on technology. Mainly smartphones.
This next thing we wanted to talk about. Oh, something else I just thought about. Movie trailers. How well the movie, film, video game promotional business has taken to the internet with trailers, and now you see it a lot with comic book movies. People know 6 years in advance the movies that are planned out. And we follow on set pictures and every detail of the movies before they come out and things like that. What does that do to our experience of? And it doesn't have to be a movie. It could be a new book that comes out.
We can talk about movies because you go to a movie and somebody dies, but then Yeah,
that was in the Avengers movie.
There's a movie coming out with them. It completely ruins it. We can... Is it too... I don't think it's too soon to talk about the movie. I don't want to spoil it.
What movie?
Endgame.
Just talk about it. I don't care.
At the end, pretty much everybody dies. And people, my friends, they were like, oh, I was bawling, when he died. And I'm like...
Who?
What do you mean? When I'm trying to think, when Spider-Man died, or
no,
when...
that was in the previous Avengers movie. Infinity War.
Infinity War. So when they were like, oh, I was bawling, and I'm like, it literally didn't affect me because I knew...
Because I know
that there's 6 more movies.
Announced.
There's 6 more Spider-Man movies already in production. It had no impact on me, and it just ruins the experience of going to the movies. So therefore, I have stopped going on the internet and looking into, the future movies. And same with books. It's there's no stakes. Like, the main character trekking through this treacherous area, if you know there's 2 more Hobbit books,
Yeah, it's also just about
they're
like
gonna live.
it's also just about like a sense of wonder, and maybe which is completely non-existent anymore. No one goes to the movies without knowing what they're going to see, or without knowing what's playing.
100%.
No one goes to the movies and looks at the posters and looks at the list of what's playing and says, "Oh, I haven't heard of that movie. Let's go see it."
Yeah, you go
Because
with
we've
the
watched the
intention.
trailer, we know what's happening, and it's so. And I know why people do that, and I do it too. It's so that we don't spend
Waste
money
money,
on a
yeah.
thing we don't eventually like.
Yeah.
What it also means is that the element of surprise and of loving something which we did not know a thing about.
Yeah, you go into
That's
a movie
impossible
knowing
now.
you're gonna love it.
Yeah.
Like, we went the other day and we didn't even watch the trailer, but like we knew it was critically acclaimed and like
Yeah.
the movie of the decade.
Yeah.
So we went and we watched it and we were like,
it was pretty good actually.
yeah, we were like, this is the movie of the decade. But it's like we knew we were gonna love it.
Yeah.
We
What
didn't
movie
know
was
for
that?
sure. Parasite.
Yeah, Parasite. This
Man, that
Korean
movie.
It was very good.
So good.
Anyway, this is kind of similar. We want to talk about the internet's effects on people's attention span / empathy. I'm going to highlight myself in that vein because
Okay. I'm still very emotional and sensitive.
when it comes to attention span, I have a pretty small one. When I listen to music, if it's something doesn't grip me within like 10 seconds, I'm done. I pretty much, if a movie doesn't interest me inside the first 20 minutes, I'm done. You know, I have a very short attention span. I always like to be doing things. I always like to be stimulated in some way. You know, I don't like eating unless I'm reading or listening or watching something else at the same time. So that's what I talk about when I say attention span.
Yes.
And I think it's bad for you. And we talked about this in episode 2, which is about a sense of appreciation.
It doesn't build any
mindfulness and all those
resilience if
things.
you have to suffer through like, it doesn't allow you to establish what you do and don't like, I think, really concretely, because you don't have to suffer through the things you don't like. If you don't like it,
Yeah,
you
that's
just turn
true.
it off.
That's true. Those things are big character building moments which a lot of young people don't have anymore.
Yeah.
It's too easy for them to just always be happy.
Yeah.
Happiness is bad. We're against happiness. We're not. We're against convenience.
Yeah, we're against convenience. And concerning empathy, the amount of things we consume, like TV shows even, or news, are like the 2 big things. But like, I'll watch a TV show, and if somebody dies, like, I'll start crying because I don't watch many TV shows. But then the people I'm with that have like watched this since like Grey's Anatomy since the beginning, and somebody dies every episode, they're like, "What are you doing? Like, this
Yeah, that's
happens
really
every
funny.
episode." But it's like, this person is dying.
Well, I
Like,
mean,
you
I don't know
can't-
if everyone has to be as
I
as
think
immersed
that's
in it as
as
you do.
sensitive, but I mean, like, I think mainly concerning
Desensitized,
news,
definitely.
people are desensitized
Especially
to it.
to violence, wars, famine. We hear about a new one every week, so it's really hard.
Yeah, like natural disasters, like the Haiti earthquake in 2012, was
I don't know,
it?
2010, I think.
2010? Okay. Like, that was pretty much the biggest natural disaster of our lifetimes at that point.
That we
Only
knew
one that we
about,
knew about, and
maybe.
the internet made it really popular, and we were like, oh, this is great. Like,
But then there was another
people
one the year
are
after,
going
and,
to
like,
respond
more
and
more.
And then, like, yeah, after that, people just were inundated with donate to help these people, and like,
Yeah,
then
and
they just stopped caring. And
I don't
it's
want
like,
it to sound like we're painting Western consumers of the internet as victims, as like,
No.
oh, we're inundated with all these earthquakes, you know, what are we supposed to do? It's not like that. It's just a legitimate problem that it's desensitizing people, and it's really difficult to be shocked.
Yeah.
You know, the factor or the capacity for shock has gone down. The capacity for empathy has probably been reduced.
And that's not a good thing, because
no.
we need people to care about
Yes.
disaster.
Anyway, so we've listed a lot of things that we don't like about the internet, and that we the bad effects that we think it's happening on people. So for the last point, we wanted to talk about how can an internet be made better? If we were to make an internet 2.0, what would it be like? Because the internet's been around for what, like 20 years? Popular consumer internet,
Probably
I'm going to say
20.
20 years.
Yeah.
I know it was invented in like the 70s or something like that.
Yeah.
But I mean the internet as we know it. So it's still a relatively new frontier, so there's a lot of growing pains and stuff.
Yeah, of course.
What worries me is that these issues that we highlighted, I don't think are concerns for the people who kind of shape the internet.
No.
In fact, I think it's going in a bad direction. It's getting even worse.
It shouldn't be on the consumer to, I don't know how to describe it. It's just like when people shouldn't have to worry about there being things in their food that are like going to kill them. They shouldn't have to worry about going on the internet, there being things that are going to have incredibly negative effects on their consciousness.
Okay.
So it's just like, it's partially on the consumer, but it's also on the people that shape the internet.
Yes.
To make it a better place that is less harmful.
Let's say if you just had a magic wand and you could change the internet in whatever way you wanted, what would you get rid of? What would you add? How would you change it?
I would get rid of suggestions, I think is like the biggest thing.
Oh yeah, you were talking about that, like the algorithm on YouTube, recommended videos and things like that.
Like YouTube would be just like one screen with a search bar, and you could look up like...
That's a good point.
You'd have to know the specific thing that you're looking for, and like maybe like 10 suggestions could come up, but then when you make the choice to watch this one, the other 9 aren't in the queue waiting for you to watch them all.
Yeah, because that's what makes you waste more time on the internet, on YouTube.
Yeah.
Oh, and the other thing, just on YouTube, I'd get rid of comments. I'd just get rid of them. I know why they're there, and it's because so the creator has immediate feedback, and so they can, change things. They can see what people like and see what people don't. But it's bad for, I think, the creator, because then they're too at the whim of their audience.
Yeah,
and it's bad for the audience because now everyone has their soapbox, kind of like us on this podcast. Everyone has their...
But they didn't have to make a decision to start a podcast and build their soapbox. They just do it.
There was a barrier of entry to this. It wasn't so easy.
Yes.
So the comparison for a YouTube comment would be, back in the day, if you wanted to comment on a TV show that you really liked, you had to send a letter probably to the company or the producer or the editor or something like that. Let's go back to those days, because it would weed out all the really low effort, this is trash.
Because it could even be like an email. Like you could email the creator.
Well, that takes a few more seconds, but not that much time.
But I mean, like, you're not going to send somebody an email saying, this is trash. You're going to send being
true.
Like, this is fantastic, it changed my life.
It'd probably be more well thought out.
Yeah, or like...
And if it's a criticism, it'd be
constructive.
Yeah.
Or like incredibly negative. But
anyway,
there'd be some kind of change with the comments. And then social media could probably be eradicated.
Yeah, get rid of it.
And there could maybe be online forums for different, like a photography forum, like Flickr.
Yes, Flickr, bring it back.
Bring back Flickr.
Get rid of the comments, though. There's no need for it.
There's no need for comments.
Get rid of comments, and Kanye suggested on Instagram just getting rid of the likes feature so you can't see, and I think they're trialing a new version of that. It's like
they did.
Instagram without likes and things. I would just say the internet without Instagram and things would probably be better.
Yeah. So I think being able to look at other people's photos, but actual photographers, like as a photographer, I'm not like a proper photographer. I like looking at other people's pictures to get inspiration, but...
Well, you don't like the blurry bathroom mirror selfies?
No, I don't.
Those aren't the kind of photos you look for?
Or people, like, group photos. It's like, cool, you're doing that. If you really wanted me to know, you just tell me. Or
so many people just take photos to prove that they were there or that they did the thing.
Yeah, that's so easy to fall into, though.
You see those pictures of, like... I was reading about... what's the museum that has the Mona Lisa?
The one in France.
The Louvre?
Yes.
It was like, it had to close many days last year in the summer because it was too busy. Because in the Mona Lisa room especially, it's just a sea of people, and they just have their hands above their head and they're holding their phone just to try and take a blurry, 40 feet away zoomed out picture of the Mona Lisa on the wall. Mm-hmm. It's like, if you wanted a picture like that, just look at it online.
Yeah, exactly.
So they were thinking about they might have to move it to a different place.
Yeah. Wow.
Its own museum, because it's crowding the rest of the museum.
Yeah.
And they have to close it on hot days because it gets too crowded.
Oh dear. Where were we?
No, we were talking about...
online places for what the internet would be.
Yes.
I would have still a place for photos, but for photographers. Mm-hmm. And not for sharing your selfies. There would be some kind of a forum for communication. Probably I hate Skype because it's just it's really glitchy.
Clumsy.
But a proper Skype where you could have contacts just like you have in your phone, people that you would text, call on a regular basis. Because I really like video chatting, but that probably could be just kept with FaceTime or the ones that are built in.
Yeah.
There would still be email. And then music, I don't know what to do about that.
I mean, I love streaming, but...
I love streaming.
As we were saying, I think it's bad for you. I think the convenience of it is bad for us.
Yeah, same with
Isn't it also really bad for the musicians?
Probably. They probably make no money.
Yeah, I think they get paid no money.
Yeah, so streaming, and then same with ebooks.
What about streaming movies? That can go.
Ooh. You can buy them, though. There should be a place where you can rent movies, like Blockbuster online.
That you can rent movies online.
But they're so expensive. It'd be like a little bit cheaper.
It's probably a similar price to Blockbuster.
Yeah, probably.
Inflation.
So yeah, maybe just a proper Blockbuster online.
Okay.
Where there's one place and it's more accessible.
Yeah, I probably shouldn't have put you on the spot about how you'd want to change the internet.
Yeah.
We're gonna have a podcast episode called Internet 2.0 where we go in detail. We'll think about it ahead of time.
Planning instead of me just
planning about
spewing.
Because the internet's a wild west right now. It's so
It
crazy. There's no rules. It's a lawless place for heathens to share their.
You really are right.
It's an insidious, invasive force in society. So Internet 2.0 will be a pure utopian reimagining of the internet, which we will bring to you guys in a few weeks. Yes.
That's free of distractions.
What do you think about? Did you ever go on Build-A-Bear website? Or what's
Webkins.
Webkins, Club Penguin, all those
Ooh.
things. Those are kind of like
those are dead, aren't they?
Our early social media.
That's all I spent. That's the only thing I used the internet for.
That was
Webkins.
your social. That was your social media.
But I wasn't interacting with the other Webkins.
That
I was
your
just doing my
social
own
media.
thing, playing Cash Cow.
Anyway, the next thing, what we wanted to close on is, so that was our idea for a better internet, because we have this kind of collective delusion that we will be able to shape the world in whatever way we want to, which is why we would list our ideas for Internet 2.0. But in the meanwhile, what are some things that people can do to escape its maybe negative effects?
Limit your time on the internet. Assign.
Well, actually, no. Let's
space.
talk about what we do instead, so it's not so preachy.
Yeah, that makes sense.
I'll talk about what I do.
Okay, you go first, and I'll talk about what I do.
I recognize that YouTube, I was spending too much time on it, so I just decided to quit cold turkey, and now I don't go on the website anymore, except sometimes to listen to music when I have another tab open or something, so still multitasking.
You also unsubscribed to everybody sometime ago, didn't you?
Yeah, I don't subscribe or anything like that. I just try to spend less time on it. I try not to go on the internet while I eat. That's a big thing.
Mm-hmm.
I think eating's kind of like something we've always done through history with other people, and it's been a more communal experience, and now it's way too easy just to be solitary when you do stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
So I try not to do it while I eat. I try not to do it before bed or just after I wake up and those kind of things.
Yeah. So what I have kind of done is set it aside so that I'm only on it on my computer, not on my phone, unless I'm looking up a route for a bus.
For a bus.
Because that's one system that I can't figure out without the internet.
Okay.
But anyway, so I try and set it aside to be only done on my laptop, because then you have to make the choice. I'm going to fire this thing up, which takes 20 minutes because my laptop is so sketchy. But anyway, so I have to make that choice, sit down, open it up, and usually do work.
So essentially you're taking away the convenience.
Taking away the convenience and making it, rebuilding a computer room.
Rebuild the computer room. Hashtag rebuild the computer room. Hashtag bring it back.
Anyway, and I use it to do work almost exclusively, and then limit myself in time and place. So not when I'm eating, not before bed, because that always negatively affects my life.
The very, very final thing we want to talk about is a question that we asked ourselves just as we were starting this episode, which is, wait, why is this called the Environmental Podcast when today we're talking about the internet and a lot of our plans for episodes aren't explicitly environmental?
Because the environment is currently the biggest issue. Climate changes.
So that's it's kind of a subterranean focus of the things we focus of our topics.
Yes.
Of our discussions.
We're getting at the grand finale of fixing climate change.
Yeah.
But we have to try and figure out why people are the way they are.
Yeah, in truth.
Why society is the way it is.
It's the environmental podcast and it's the social podcast because those things are inextractable from each other.
Yes.
So it's not that there's always a hidden link they're talking about the internet, but maybe they'll circle that back to the environment. Most times we won't. We just think that the two people and the environment, they're both of equal importance.
Yes. And you can't
have
one without the other.
And we think that we know best in both realms, in both arenas of thought.
Yes, and we want to develop our ideas on both things so that we can kind of come to a conclusion someday about
maybe
how to make the world a better place.
Yes.
Yes.
On that vein and on about how the internet and social media and convenience is really bad for us, where can they find us?
On Instagram. And this is what we had a 3-hour debate discussion yesterday about what is our Instagram?
Yeah, what is our Instagram? How can we reconcile this with the fact that we're just about to do an episode decrying Instagram, social media, and its compatriots? And
basically, our Instagram is more like a website kind of for us. Like, it's where people can go to have their questions answered about the podcast, because you need a way
we want it eventually
to communicate with us.
To just be communication between creator and audience, and
yes,
we want the main message of our Instagram to be
get off Instagram.
Get off Instagram.
So like, if you choose to follow us, it will, almost every post will be a reminder to get off, or some kind of inspiration to be like, hey, how about you go read this book? How about you go take a hike?
Yeah,
like,
but we do, I mean, we have to engage in those kind of things. It's just like, well, how can we be against the internet when we're uploading our podcast to the internet? It's like, we have to, what you said the other day about...
You have to use the means to change the means.
Yes, use the means to change the means.
I don't think that's right, but you know what I mean.
Mm-hmm.
So,
the person who invented the light bulb did so by candlelight. That's what you mean.
Exactly. So that's all. Thank you for listening.
Have a great day. Goodbye.